Welcome, viewers and listeners, to another edition of CHP Talks. I'm here with my good friend and a repeat guest on this program, Mr. Jim Enos. Jim, thanks for joining us today.
Thanks, Rod. Always good to be with you and talk with you.
So, for those who haven't met Jim before, he is the Ontario Council President for CHP Canada. He's the CEO of the CHP Hamilton Mountain EDA. He's also the president of the Hamilton-Wentworth Family Action Council. And Jim's consistent message over his 30 years of engaging in the public square has been for Christians to participate in public policy formation by taking their places at the public table while policy is being made, not waiting until after policy is passed and then protesting. Of course, we have to protest as well when things happen, but we should be there engaged. And Jim lives in the Hamilton, Ontario area with his wife, Penny. And it's such a pleasure to have you with us today, Jim. Really appreciate it. And we're here to talk about something important. So why don't you give our audience the background? Some of our viewers and listeners will know all about this already, our battle with Hamilton City Council. But why don't you take us to the beginning of this struggle, and we'll talk later about how people can help us win the battle.
Yeah, sure. Well, it was back in February of 23, and I had been feeling really uneasy. For some reason, I'd felt very uneasy in my soul, wanting to do something. I didn't know what it was, but it really been eating away at me. And then one night, about 2 or 3 in the morning, I just couldn't sleep, so I got up and prayed about it. And what is it? And then in all of that, I had this thought come to me of, I've forgotten his name at the moment, but he was doing a campaign down in the States, the definition of woman.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, woman, an adult female. And I thought, well, yeah, we could do that. And so at about 2 or 3 in the morning, I started scratching with a pen what that might look like on a piece of paper, and then coordinated with our arts person. And this is what came out of it.
For those who are listening in on the audio, Jim is sharing a poster, and which was going to be, I know Jim's going to tell us it was going to be on the bus shelters in Hamilton. And what does it say, Jim?
Well, it's real complicated. It says woman, an adult female.
And
And then our caption below that is bringing respect for life and truth to Canadian politics. And I think this poster really nails it right on the head. It's life and it's truth. It's absolute truth. There's no doubt about that. And so I thought, well, I met with my committee and I thought, well, I'm going to try to stop sharing here.
yeah, just at the bottom there.
There we go here. I thought, well, would you fellows be supportive of us making an application for a billboard bus shelter ads? We've done bus shelter ads since 2012, and so this was no new undertaking, and the message seemed innocent enough, and we agreed. That was the image that was to go up, and so we made our application submission to the review agency. So the city doesn't actually review posters. It has an agency that books all their bus shelters and pre-screens them, knows all the rules and all that kind of stuff. Like they have all kinds of subcontractors. So the agency got back to us very quickly and said, no, you're not putting that up. We asked them why, and then we got crickets.
Yeah.
There was no answer, which means they know that they don't really have a basis for rejecting. And then our lawyer helped me to craft some more emails to them, and somewhere along the line, they did respond, and it really made it worse for them because the more they talked, the worse it looked. And then they really went to crickets after that. That was in February. About April, our lawyer, Albertus Polizagopoulos, he contacted City Hamilton. They know him. We had a similar case in 2016, which we won unanimously in the courts in 2018 of a man trying to push his way into a woman's uh, shower room, asking the question, competing human rights, where's the justice?
Yeah.
And the courts absolutely were unanimous that we had every right to ask the question and to post it in public. There was nothing harmful about the poster. So with this poster, we felt, well, this one's even far less objectionable, even though the other one we felt wasn't objectionable anyway, but nonetheless, this was even pretty innocent. And the city uh, took their time getting back to us. And as I realized later, what they did was they got through Pride season before they got back to us. They got back to us July 6th. Well, Pride season, as they call it now, was ending end of June.
Mhm.
So they didn't get back to us all through June. They hummed and hawed around, but they came back to us with a 5-page letter as to why we couldn't put up uh, an image that said woman, an adult female. And I mean, the woman in the picture, she's conservatively dressed, not like on the buses where they have love shop ads on their buses, all of the full side of the bus, and you go to the website and it's pornography, it's bondage,
Hmm.
it's abuse of women. That's fine, but there was a real serious problem in their mind, and I'm gonna, if I could, I'd like to share what their real serious, well, of course, I'm being a little sarcastic, but
Yeah.
what their real serious concern was with the poster image. And I'll share that if that's okay.
Yeah, go ahead and do that. I think I knew when I was about 5 years old what a woman was, and nobody ever told me. It was pretty self-evident, but it seems like a lot of people are confused now about this definition. So,
Yeah, confused or silenced about what they know to be true. And that's our bigger concern. We don't think people are confused. We think they're being silenced.
yeah, fair enough.
That's a far bigger concern. If they're confused, well, carry on. But I think it's more about silencing.
For
So
those
here,
for those again listening on the audio version here, Jim is sharing the letter with some portions highlighted from the city of Hamilton in response to this request to post.
yeah.
But
So it says, go ahead.
go ahead. Yeah.
Okay, so interpretation of the advertisement. At first glance, the advertisement, which represents a cisgendered woman. Now that's interesting right away, how they know that woman's cisgendered. I don't know if they asked her that. How do they know it's not a man posing as a woman who's had all kinds of surgeries? So right away, they've tripped themselves up in the opening sentence. Anyway, which presents a cisgendered woman with the caption "Woman, Adult, Female" states a simple definition that can be found in most dictionaries. Okay, well, that's pretty scary. However, in the broader context of current social and current cultural dialogues, the statement carries an exclusive undertone. It implicitly suggests that only those who are biologically born female can be considered women, thereby excluding individuals such as transgender women who identify as female but were not assigned this gender at birth. So that's one sentence. I'm going to read another one in a moment. Just a comment on that paragraph. There's a difference between identifying as a female and being a female.
Mhm.
And everybody, even the confused, know that. So they're not a female. They're someone who identifies as a female. I read an interesting piece last night. Someone said when you go to have one of these so-called sex changes, which don't actually ever happen, it's impossible. But when you go to have that sex change, how many sex choices do you get? You only get male or female. Yet they're trying to tell us there's 67 or 87 or 127 different genders and so on. So CHP, we don't buy into this thing that gender is one thing and sex is another. In our court documents, we're very clear: sex and gender are one. They've always been one term. It's only those who have an agenda that want to change the language. And changing language is the biggest tool of Marxism. Changing the language to mean like phobia. Phobia actually means an irrational fear, but now any discomfort or any sort of feeling of aversion towards something is now considered a phobia. But in actuality, it's an irrational fear, and there are reasons to be fearful of some things.
Yeah.
But I'm getting off track a little bit. So let's go to the next point. Well, and it excludes individuals such as transgender women. Well, if they're women, why do they have the term transgender in front of it?
Right.
So they're not. They're males, is what they are. And well, we'll get into that maybe a little later. Then a little further down, they really reveal themselves. They say the message of the advertisement supports a traditional and biologically determined definition of gender in line with conservative values.
Hmm.
So conservatives aren't allowed to speak in Hamilton,
Hmm.
is what I'm reading.
Right.
The definition is by its nature narrow and exclusionary and does not acknowledge the lived experience of transgender and non-binary individuals who, again, what? Identify as women. Not are women,
Yeah.
identify as women. The definition can contribute to social exclusion and discrimination against these communities. It simplifies a complicated issue and dispenses with complexities and diversity of gender identity in a contemporary society. So now they tell us what society is, and we have to toe the line. And in the name of it, in the name of inclusion, they exclude conservatives.
Yeah. Isn't that something? Yeah.
So when we say inclusion, when your council tells you that they want to be inclusive, what they mean is they want to include everything from the left, but nothing from the right.
Right.
So this idea that we live in a democracy and the majority makes decisions is absolutely false. Decisions are made by a minority and enforced by human rights legislations and so on, which it's a dictatorship.
Yeah. And like you mentioned earlier, the idea of controlling speech, controlling public opinion through limiting speech, limiting the ability of a person like you or me to express our views in a public format is how they want, and basically it's shaming. And then what they hope by punishing or restricting a few of us, they hope to compel others to be quiet. And yeah, you're right. So
Yeah,
what?
I had a case just prior to us putting up our first bus shelter case in 2016 with a male pushing his way into the ladies' shower rooms. I had a counselor, a very strong sort of counselor, and he said to me, Jim, I agree with everything you're objecting to, but I feel compelled to vote otherwise. How can someone who's elected by the public be compelled to vote against his conscience?
Right, exactly.
And I mean, of course, this is just one symptom of a real underlying ill in Canada. But being compelled, I mean, we have these, what we call these ethics commissioners that now sit on city councils, and they, dock people 30 days pay and all that for speaking their mind.
Yeah,
Well, I thought that's why they were there,
yeah,
to speak their mind.
yeah,
And then you vote. That's all.
yeah,
You don't fine somebody for speaking their mind.
yeah. Well, it's lawfare. That's going on in courts all across the country. Certain individuals wanting to control what other people can say, and ultimately they want to control what other people think. But they have to first get a hold of the language And whether that's in a publication or in podcast or through political efforts, they want to control the message so that people think the way they think. Right?
Yes.
So,
And so some people say, well, why do you get into these battles in the first place? Like, why don't you just stay in your own lane?
yeah,
Well,
this
I
is my
thought free
lane.
speech was kind of important.
Yeah, this is my lane.
This is my lane. Yeah, this is my lane. And I'm going to say that the highest there's two real main thrusts behind this. One is to defend women.
Yeah,
I still don't I still do not like at all the fact that men can just barge into shower rooms with women. I don't like it at all. I don't have a lot of women that are disagreeing with me or any so far that have actually come up to me and say you're absolutely wrong.
yeah,
I mean, we will not attend a public facility and expose ourselves to that possibility, and it's totally wrong. But the other, so that's I'm not going to say which one's more important, but that's very important to us. And the other part is freedom of thought, expression, and speech without persecution regarding public policy. And the other point is that public discussion on this topic is not dead. They would like to think it's water under the bridge, it's gone by, and there's no point in discussing any further. That was our point then,
yeah,
that we want public discussion.
right.
We want, there should never, ever be a time where we say we're not talking about this anymore.
Yeah,
When it impacts the public, it's always open to public scrutiny. That's
exactly.
how we got same-sex marriage. They wouldn't stop, and finally they gave in.
Yeah, yeah,
And we're going to fight back. And as a party, we don't support same-sex marriage either.
yeah,
And we don't intend on dropping it for the sake of someone feeling good about themselves.
yeah.
So,
So the city wrote you back this letter, this 5-page letter with all their reasons, and they kind of exposed themselves that they're thinking how draconian it is that they don't want your message out there. Um, so then what took place next? And this is going back. This is in 2023, 2024, the spring of 2024.
2023 is when we got July of 2023 is when we got the letter of
Oh,
rejection.
okay, okay,
And within that letter, they went on and on about the right of freedom. The party has absolutely every right to do this. But then they went on and said, but we have to balance it against the harm it might cause to somebody. And of course, the key word is might. And so now what you do, the way to win a political war today is to declare yourself the victim and then give an absurd theory on life. But then say if anybody agrees with me, my feelings are going to be hurt, or I'm a minority, therefore you can't say anything. So no
right,
matter no matter what the absurd idea is, you should be able to say it without having anybody ever disagree with you.
yeah,
And well, so that's their balance is that we have every right, and they went on to citing our rights. They know them because they lost to us already. But then they balanced against that. They used an LGBT funded study. You know how studies go.
yeah, exactly,
And it said that uh, negative imagery it brings detrimental uh, actions towards the trans community.
mm,
But in that study, what they were referring to, if you looked at it, was talking images that portray them as villains or TV shows that show them as deranged and all. Well, you look at our poster, there's nothing villainous about it. We haven't got the word trans anywhere in the poster. We don't talk about trans in the poster.
yeah,
All we're simply doing is holding a different view, the right view,
right,
on what a woman is. But
exactly,
they try to pull it out to something else. And they talk into how they consulted with the LGBT community. Well, here's the court fight. They didn't consult with us.
hmm
We're the ones putting up the ad, just like 2016. They said, nope, no consultation. The only consultation said, they said the answer is no, but if you'd like to talk about something else, let us know. And they call that consultation.
Yeah,
Well, I don't want to talk about something else.
yeah,
That's the ad. There's nothing wrong with it.
right.
And the fight is, it's very important to establish this. And it's now, so this went into the courts, as we know, and the courts ruled with the city of Hamilton. Stunning, shocking. We couldn't believe it. And they did it only 2 weeks after the hearing. And our other one, it was about 4 or 5 months while they made up, they went through all the stuff. They didn't, and in their ruling, they never talked about all the legal evidence. They didn't talk about the charter. They didn't talk about the affidavit we'd filed showing the imagery that the city is posting, how they've taken a position. They're supposed to be neutral, but they've taken a position on this.
Right.
They didn't talk about any of that. They just said, we think they did a pretty good job.
Yeah.
And our lawyer said, now to leave that stand is very, very dangerous for all of Canada because this could be a precedent that no one will ever be able to speak on this subject again. And so we
And,
must fight back.
and in our first court battle with Hamilton, 2016, it was resolved in 2018. We sort of won on a further point is that as a political party, we are
Mm,
a legally registered political party in Canada, the Christian Heritage Party of Canada, and political parties have different points of view. In the debates leading up to the election, candidates and especially the party leaders expressed wildly different views on a variety of topics. And if a political party is not allowed to express its view on a public policy, which has been decided or is about to be decided by elected representatives, then we really are living in a dictatorship. So,
that's right. Political parties actually, I mean, I don't think the charter actually spells it out, but Alberta spelled it out in our first case. The priority for free speech for a political party is even higher than it is for an individual
yeah,
because they represent a group. And so, how can you have an election where every party has to speak one side of the story?
right. Yeah. So the first judicial review panel of judges ruled against us in this second court case, the one that is ongoing, and we're appealing. Maybe you can say, well, for one thing, we'll let people know right off the bat that we're appealing a court case takes money, and we're going to be reminding people of that and asking people to help us win this battle. But carry on and tell us about the appeal process, what took place, and how we are where we are today, and what's about to happen in the future.
Yeah, so appeals aren't automatic. You have to have we filed for an appeal, we gave our reasons why, and then the appeal system looks at it and they decide whether it's even worthy. So if they said, you know what, we looked at their judgment, it's sound. They've given all the good charter reasons why and so on. But they have said, no, go ahead with the appeal. So to us, that signals that I think the appeals court has seen something errant in the way it was handed out. They didn't give the reasons why, but to even allow it to go ahead, they have other things to do. So it must to me, it seems that the court sees a validity in hearing the case again.
Right.
So that's good news. They accepted it just, I don't know, I'm going to say in the last 4 or 5 weeks, they granted the appeal.
Okay.
And so now there's a lot of back and forth that goes on. We submit our case, then the city has 30 days to submit their case, and then the appeals court gets all their information, and then they'll set a date for the actual appeal. So we're waiting on that. We don't know when that's going to be. We're guessing probably after the summer, but we don't know for sure. Our cost to date in this whole thing from the beginning of 2023 right now, I think they're sitting around 130,000.
Well,
And it's a lot of money, but when you have a membership of close to 3,000, uh, it's not tons of money. It's only $40 a member.
Yeah.
But look what I mean, if every member, and we're looking for more than $40 to be honest, but just theoretically, if every member gave $40, we'd have this covered.
Yeah.
And the other thing is that 75% of that's rebatable. So for $10, we got it covered.
And of course, you don't have to be a member of the Christian Heritage
No,
Party to donate. The funds are being funneled through the Christian Heritage Party because it is essentially the Christian Heritage Party is the one being represented in court. And so we are accepting those funds. So for listeners, viewers and listeners, whether you're a member of CHP or not, you can contribute to this case. And the good news is that a political contribution, uh, you get a fairly substantial tax credit for it. So I'm going to put up the page, Jim. I know you're not done explaining things, but I'm going to put
no,
up the
this is a good
page
time. Yeah.
that shows where people can give. So this is chp.ca/gender. For those listening in, you can find this page at chp.ca/gender. And the whole page kind of, first of all, there's the picture of the poster again, woman and adult female, something that's been evident from time immemorial. And then as you go down the page, it explains about the court case and about some of the issues having to do with the misuse of gender as a political weapon in our society and why we think it's important to stand up for free speech. And there's also you can either join the party, that's one of the options there, help us that way, but you can also donate to this cause. If you click on the donate button, and it's repeated in a couple places on the page, and you can make a political contribution. You must be a Canadian citizen, by the way. So any U.S. citizens, if you're living in the United States, listening to this, and you're a U.S. citizen, we appreciate your support, but you cannot give to a Canadian political party. So
And you must be an individual. You can't donate from your personal business account.
that's right. It has to be an individual donation, so a personal credit card or so on. But we really would appreciate your help getting through this. And we're doing this not for ourselves. It's not necessarily for the political party. We're doing this for the future of our country, for young people that are being led astray in so many ways and being misinformed. We want to give out good information. And as the city of Hamilton properly noted, this is a dictionary definition. It's a biological definition, a dictionary definition, and something most people have known from their childhood. A woman is an adult female. So again, I'm going to stop the share here, but again, we'll have it in the show notes. But chp.ca/gender will take you to this page. So Jim, where are things at now? Any other updates? You're working with the
Well,
Acadia group.
it is getting national attention. Various publications. We've been in the Catholic Register, the Western Standard, and the all the things are slipping by me here,
Well,
but
Campaign Life has LifeSite has had us on there,
yeah.
and certainly they're good friends in this battle for the culture.
Yeah, National Post is working on an article. They'll be publishing soon on it. So it's not just running inside the church lanes. It's a national issue, and it's very important to women as a whole and society as a whole. And there's more. We're getting podcast invites. We've got more next week, and we really want to encourage Canadians to get involved. Even $100 makes a big difference if everybody would go that round. And our lawyers are very strong about this, the importance of finishing this off. And apart from a very biased court, there's no reason for us to lose. Under the law, we absolutely have to win.
Yeah.
There's political parties are finished. There's just going to be a liberal party and everybody else can close the doors.
Yeah.
It's so very, very important.
So, anything else, Jim, you want to bring out before we close? You're working with the Acacia Group,
Wonderful group, yes.
yeah, and they are doing a good job representing us. Leah Malusas is a tremendous lawyer working on our behalf.
Yeah, Liam Melosis is working for us, and Albertos has passed away, sadly, with a brain cancer, which is stunning. Really took everybody. But Malia is doing a wonderful job. And you know what? I think I just want to share a word of encouragement from England. April 16th, 2025, the UK court, United Kingdom court ruling sex, gender is biological. A woman is a female. That just came out in April of this year. And I'm told that the United Kingdom courts are very much leftist.
Hmm.
They had a challenge from a women's group there. And, it was the women against the transgender cult activists. And what they said was, they're not saying that people who have these transgender feelings don't have rights. That's not what they're
Yeah,
saying.
no, no.
But what it's interesting to read the 83-page ruling, which I didn't read all of it, but I've read portions of it, the actual ruling. And they said that to suggest that a transgender woman is the equivalent of a woman starts to take away the rights of the actual woman,
Yeah,
like washrooms.
privacy.
Didn't say like washrooms, but that to me,
Yeah,
that's
yeah,
what's
yeah.
implying.
And in sports, that whole thing,
Yeah,
actual women being defeated,
punched in the face by a man.
yeah, or losing their opportunity to. They've worked all their life to develop these skills, and then a man comes along with more muscle mass and testosterone and everything else, and takes away the title in a important sporting event.
Yeah, usually men that come in 25th that when they do things against males, so
Yeah,
they switch over. So I thought it was really key when they said that. So we probably wouldn't share everything that that court said, but what they said is, in a sense, transgender people are a class unto themselves. That's just another class, or not. I don't mean by class, but a group. It's
yeah,
another grouping of people. It's someone who doesn't feel right in their own skin. Okay. But that doesn't go around replacing who men are and it doesn't replace who women are.
right,
You are people who feel differently. Okay, you still have rights. You can still vote. You can still go to school. You can still use the public library, all those kinds of things. But that doesn't mean that you get to impose and take away the rights of true women and true men. So it was a very, very powerful and important ruling.
yeah, excellent, excellent.
Yes. And we'll
Well,
be citing that in our court case.
good. So again, we'll suggest to our viewers and listeners they visit our page, chp.ca/gender. And if you're able to contribute to this court case, we very much appreciate it. And Jim, I want to tell you and publicly here how much I appreciate your work on behalf of our society, on behalf of the party, but also on behalf of future generations of boys and girls that will grow up to be men and women and who need freedom. They need freedom of speech, freedom of religion, freedom of conscience, and they need clarity on, some of these issues in terms of biology and responsibility and privacy, the freedom to not be forced to speak what someone else tells you to say. That's a dictatorship. We
To
want,
be true critical thinkers.
yeah. So Jim,
Critical thinkers should look at all the evidence and make a decision based on what's in front of them, not just one side of the story.
yeah. So Jim Enos from Hamilton, thank you so much for bringing this case to the public view, for putting this, doing all the work to bring this poster up and then taking it on with Hamilton, because you're doing what's right. I know years ago you had a workshop called Staying at the Table. And some people they fight a political battle and they lose and they just take their marbles and go home. And some other people maybe win a case and then they take their marbles and go home. But you've been at the public discussion for a long time. You're still there, and we in the CHP appreciate so much what you're doing for the future of Canada. Thank you.
Yeah, Rod, I don't know how I keep ending up in these things, but we just get up every day and we listen and we follow the Lord, and here's where we are. So
Wonderful.
yeah.
All right. Well, thanks, Jim, and
Thank you, Rod, for everything you're doing with CHP.
God bless you, and God bless our viewers and listeners. chp.ca/gender. Just have a look there. I'm sure that you'll be encouraged by what you see to participate in this battle with us. Thank you so much. God bless you all.